Hello, welcome in or welcome back to my channel. My name is Deb from DG Reads, and it is time to kick off week 2 for the Amazing Readathon. If you're not aware, the Amazing Readathon is a readathon happening for the full month of June. It's a competitive readathon, and I am on Team Galeweavers. Throughout the month, we get different destinations to fantasy worlds we're going to be visiting, and each one has a prompt associated with it, along with some bonus sightseeing prompts. And my week 1 vlog is going up in the present time in about 20 minutes. So we are stopping one, starting the next one right away. This readathon is hosted by Bree at 4 Paws in a Book, and she has put so much creative energy into this one. It's always a lot of fun. We always get a bonus if we're reading an LGBTQ rep book. But for my team, the Galeweavers, we are also getting bonus points if we read a book with trials and competition. The most recent leg that just dropped yesterday is Panem, the world and the capital and the over-the-top indulgence of the Hunger Games, and the prompt for this one, quite appropriately, is a book with an over-the-top cover. And for this, the book I had originally planned to read hasn't actually physically shown up at my door yet. I could have audiobooked it, but I made a split-second decision yesterday to switch things up. I'm going to be reading The Favorites by Lane Fargo. This is one I was planning to read this month, just not necessarily affiliated with a particular prompt. It's a buddy read with some friends, and I'm really excited to get to it. This is an author I've really enjoyed before, and also had kind of a flop read from before, so I was a little bit nervous going into it, but now that I'm halfway in, I am really having a fantastic time. This is following Katerina, who is a figure skater. She is really good at what she does. She has high ambitions, but some of her personal relationships take a toll, and there are hurt feelings all around in different ways here. There's a lot of drama. There's a lot of political stuff going on within the figure skating world. The book itself is narrative, but it's also got these passages of kind of outside commentary. People who saw these things play out on live television at different championship competitions, and people who kind of witnessed some of the relationship breakdowns and relationship beginnings and these types of things. And the audiobook for this is top tier because all of these kind of commentary sections have different people narrating them as if they're other figure skaters, as if they are news personalities or whatever it may be. And I really am enjoying this. At the very beginning, I was just kind of along for the ride. It was an easy read. I was enjoying it enough. But last night, when I finally had time to sit down and focus, I was hooked. And this is such an easy book to fall into that one more chapter type of mentality and keep going. But I made myself stop last night because I wasn't ready to kick off this vlog just yet. So I had to wait once I got to that halfway point to go ahead and continue once I kick things off. So I'm really super excited to get back into this one, and we will go from there. Also, with the new leg drop, we got new sightseeing prompts. With the way Bree has set this up, we have 5 new prompts for each leg of the journey. We can use any of the prompts that have dropped up to this point, but if we choose the ones that were dropped with this particular leg and we submit them before the next leg drops, then we get double the points. And I will admit, these prompts did not initially necessarily call to me when they came out yesterday. I was having kind of a chaotic day. Kylie got her vaccine shots yesterday, and that meant I was scrambling to get to work, not too late. I had a meeting in the middle of the day, and there just was a lot going on. So I didn't have a lot of time to put a lot of focus on it. But I think what I'm going to do is focus in this week on hitting the bonus points for competitions. And until the next leg drops, I have a few competition type books that I think actually will work quite well for these sightseeing prompts. So I'll let you know about those when I get to them. In the meantime, I have actually started and even finished in one case a couple sightseeing prompts. I can't actually submit them until I've finished the favorites and submitted that one. But last night somebody pointed out that for the prompt that a book has exactly 13 chapters, which is really hard, and that's why it's the highest level points available for sightseeing this time. Somebody pointed out that The Answer is No by Frederick Bachman has exactly 13 chapters. And this is a little novella. It's one of the Amazon original stories. And I downloaded it last month, hoping to get to it, and I didn't. So I immediately put it on last night and had so much fun with it. We're following a young man, and he just likes to live his life kind of on his own. He wants quiet. He doesn't want to know his neighbors. But suddenly somebody knocks on his door because a fry pan has been left outside the trash area in the building. And the homeowners association is up in arms about this. And suddenly this turns into all sorts of shenanigans, meeting the neighbors being chaotic. This book mentions pad thai 26 times in 68 pages. It's over the top silly in a way that's intentional, and I had a blast with it. So definitely recommend checking this out if you have KU and Audible. The audiobook and the ebook are both free, so I would recommend picking those up. And then one of the prompts is for mental health rep, and that's the second highest amount of points. And my Libby hold for Sociopath by Patrick, I'm forgetting the last name at the moment. I apologize. My phone where I could look it up is way across the room. So we're just gonna have the picture up here. You guys will see it. But this is one I had seen on several favorites lists last year, I believe, particularly when it came to favorite nonfiction. So it's one I've had a Libby hold on for a while, but I decided this was the perfect time to pick it up, kind of in between my fictional reading at the moment. And so far I'm finding it really engaging, really interesting, and I'm nearing the halfway point in it. Basically, the author is narrating it herself, obviously wrote it herself, it's her memoir, and she's talking about from an early age being different and recognizing in herself that she's different, that she doesn't have the same emotional kind of capacity as other people, that she has this desire to cause harm, that she has really been very intelligent about researching this on her own for years without talking to anyone about it and finding outlets in safe or safer ways. And then at the stage I'm at now, she's starting to kind of open up a little bit more about it to people and kind of talking about the implications, like the fact that sociopathy is not in the DSM diagnostic manual. There's no set criteria for this. It's tied more to other things that are considered very dangerous. There's very big stigma on it. But she opens the book by talking about the fact she's a wife, she's a mother, she has a full life, even though she's wired a little bit differently. So I'm finding this very engaging. It's going to count for mental health points, and no trials or competitions in this one. But it's a very interesting read, and I'm glad that I picked it up. So that's where I'm at so far. My priority one is hopefully to finish the favorites today. It goes pretty quickly with the short chapters, with the kind of chorus type interludes of these outside people observing things. So I think it's doable. I did go out this morning and get new nails, kind of keeping with the Galeweavers teal theme. I am quite thrilled with them. And so that was my morning. I do need to do a little bit of social media stuff as my vlog I just mentioned is going up for last week. And then I am going out today for a barbecue with friends. So that's going to take a big chunk of the day. And hopefully then I won't be too exhausted tonight to keep reading, because I'm super excited now that I have a plan in mind for focusing in on these trials and competition books. I'm super excited to get to them. So I'm hoping I can get to a few before we get a new destination and a new prompt. So I will be back once I have reached Panem and be able to give you an update again later. It is now Sunday morning. Yesterday was busy. I had my nail appointment, went and visited with my dad for a while, went to a friend's house for a barbecue, lots of social time, and by the time I was done with that, I just hit a wall and I was exhausted. Haven't been sleeping super well the last few nights, and I think I had mentioned Kylie had her vaccine shots on Friday, so she really wasn't feeling well Friday night, and that always kind of interferes with my sleep. So I was exhausted. Thankfully, I got home last night. Kylie was back to 100%. She was running around happy to see me and snuggling up and everything else. So that's all good, but I was really tired. But I did do a little bit more progress on my reading and did a bit more this morning because I'm waking up at weird hours of the morning for some reason and listening to audio and stuff. So here we are with an update. I did finish up the favorites. I mainly listened to this on audio driving around yesterday and then finished it up last night. And I really wound up enjoying this. I can't really say why I enjoyed it. I think the writing style was just really easy to consume and it grabbed my attention. There's a lot of messy relationship drama in here, a lot of ice dance and figure skating type stuff, which is something I really do enjoy. A few almost gory moments of injuries and people being a little bit toxic to each other, but I really liked the way the story was told. I think this one would not have sucked me in nearly as much without the audiobook. I think having this full cast of characters commentating on what's happening in the main drama of the story really added something special to this, and it gets a really strong 4-star for me at the end. Is it a romance? It kind of is, but it's not your typical romance. Is it a contemporary? I guess that's probably where I'd land in terms of what to classify it is for my tracking purposes. There's a few little mystery elements that pop up here or there, but ultimately it's about the characters and their relationships with each other. And for some reason, it really wound up working for me. So with that gets me to Panem, and this is a 448-page book. It does have, I think, significant enough discussions about LGBTQ issues in figure skating, and some of the POV characters who are commentating on what's going on are queer, and I think it does address that. So I was counting this for an LGBTQ bonus, plus the competition element of the ice dancing absolutely gets a bonus as well. And then I cashed in my power-up card that gets me an extra 100 points. So in the end, I wound up getting 658 points for my team with this submission. And getting this in also means that I was able to go ahead with my sightseeing. So I did submit The Answer is No by Frederick Bachman that I read Friday night, and that went in for 500 points because it's the 13 chapters, 250 point prompt, doubled because we're in the current leg. I'm still working on Sociopath, so that will be coming soon. I'm about 3/4 of the way through now. That's kind of my audiobook when I just need to throw something on, and I'm still really enjoying it. And then I have started my next sightseeing book, and that is Hollowed Games by C.N. Crawford. This is a fantasy romance. It's one that Mel from Eleanor Reads put on my TBR quite some time ago when she read it, and when I enjoyed Crimson Moth as much as I did, she recommended that this one might work for me as well. And because it does have a games trials type of element to it, I knew it would be perfect for this month. And reading some reviews, they do talk about the mental health rep in this one, so I am planning to count this for the mental health representation sightseeing prompt, which is the 200 point prompt, so a pretty good one. We're following a character named Elowyn, and she has been cursed with the fact that her skin carries death, basically. A touch from her from anywhere in her body, and she kills someone. And this is a very isolating, obviously, type of thing. I believe this is where the mental health rep is coming into this book, but she has to keep herself very covered up and be very careful not to touch anyone. She has a young boy that she cares for, that he lost his family, and she's kind of been looking out for him, and he's her main objective to keep him safe. She winds up getting arrested by Maelor, who is the Raven Lord, and her hope for survival is to pass these trials that she has to enter. And he's kind of trying to help her, but there's no magic allowed in these trials, and 99% of everyone will die. So that's kind of the point where I'm up to currently. I'm about 35-40% of the way through this book, and I'm enjoying it. I'm not 100% hooked at this stage. I do like our main character. The premise is interesting, so I'm hopeful that once the trials kick in, that it will be a lot of fun, and we shall see. So that's my main objective for today, is to go ahead and finish this one up and then move on to hopefully something else. My only real commitment today is I do have the Wheel of Time live show. It's our final live show because I did finish up Wheel of Time this week, which does me absolutely no good for this particular readathon because I read too much of it in May to count it as a June book, but I'm very excited that we're on our final live show, which will be on Sandra's channel at Got a Thing for Things, if you're interested to check that out after the fact when this vlog goes live and when you're seeing this. So in any case, that is my main goal that I need to accomplish today. I need to, make myself look a little bit more live on the internet ready today. But other than that, my goal is to really just relax and read, hang out with Kylie now that she's feeling better. And that is the plan. So objective 1 today, because it's 7 a.m. and I haven't had coffee yet, so that's plan number 1, and then sit and read Hollowed Games. It's now, I think, around 2:30 Sunday afternoon. It feels like it's been ages since last I updated you, even though that was just this morning. But I do have a couple of updates. So I joined Sandra on Got a Thing for Things on her sprints this morning, and while doing that, I almost finished Hollowed Games. And I was having a pretty good time with this one. It never fully hooked me in. I liked the trials aspect of this one for the most part. I think the world of these trials and the different elements of danger that get wrapped into it, and the way people kind of have to wind up working together, even though they've been promised only one of them is going to survive. All of that worked really well for me. There was one trial in the midst of this that wound up being very sexual, and I don't love kind of using people's lust and desires and temptations and stuff being a trial in this type of thing. That's just me personally, not my favorite element. But overall, I like this. The romance of it didn't ever really hit for me. I think we go pretty quickly into these two people having intense desire for each other, I wanted more banter and communication and kind of fighting back against each other and that type of stuff. So in the end, I am curious where book 2 is going to go. I think the ending did hook me back in pretty well. I was very frustrated because I had about 10 minutes of reading left when it came time for us to end the sprints and start the Wheel of Time live show today. So I was a little bit worried. And then while I was still in the back room chatting after the live show, I saw there was an announcement in the Discord for Amazing and was really worried that I had missed a opportunity to get a good amount of points with submitting this book because I only had 10 minutes left. But it was just a detour, a little fun addition to this leg of the journey. So I am now able to submit this book. It didn't go as much into mental health as I thought from the reviews I had read talking about it having mental health rep, but I think it did have it in there. It's certainly a lot of trying to control your own thoughts and trying to deal with the fact that she can't touch anybody except for this one man, but she's had to live this way her whole life. She has people she cares about, or at least this one boy she cares about. She's growing to care about some of these people who are in the trials with her, but I do think it is in there. And certainly this book has trials in it. So I am going to be submitting this and it will be getting us 450 points for Team Galeweavers. And then I also was able to wrap up Sociopath today, which was a really engaging and really interesting read. I am glad that I put this on hold after seeing it on somebody's list. I wish I remember whose list it was on so I could reference them. But to whoever that was, thank you. I thought this was really an interesting look at a diagnosis that can sound maybe scary on page that we don't necessarily know that much about. I really appreciated the discussions about how this diagnosis is combined with other things that it isn't. And I think that's something in mental health that we're continually evolving is diagnostic criteria and also seeing the nuance and the fact that some diagnoses are on a spectrum, or I'd say probably most diagnoses are on a spectrum and not everyone's the same. And just because this person has this diagnosis, which they did kind of self-assess for, and that they then get additional help with insights about it, that they were able to kind of see that this is something that someone who's a mom and a partner and all of these things, she's a PhD, we know from the book cover and her author name, but all of that, she lives a very fulfilled life. So really appreciated that. So that's where I am. That one's going to be another 400 points for the team for the mental health aspect. And with that, I am planning, I think, to go ahead and pick up another trials book that is more of the political nature. That's the 150 point prompt that we have for sightseeing. Since we did get this little chaotic extra fun thing today from the readathon, I'm hoping that means we've got enough time to fit in one more quick read at least. So we'll see how that goes. I'm going to go ahead and grab myself a really late lunch and then sit down and start a new book. It's now 7:30 in the evening and I'm getting close to the point of needing to wind down and lay down and refresh myself a bit before a new week starts. But we did get the announcement today about what Face Off is going to be next weekend. I'm super excited for that and looking forward to continuing on with my reading this week. No new leg drop today. I would guess we're getting one tomorrow. For now, I'm continuing on with my sightseeing. I'm hoping to finish up one more book, which currently I am 15% into The Testing, which is a novel by Joelle Charbonneau, and it is translated into English, I believe from French, if I'm not making that up. And it is a YA kind of dystopian feeling, sci-fi type of book. Not sure exactly how it's classified. In this book, we're following Sia, and she is living in a really small colony. The world was kind of taken apart by an era of war, and there wasn't a lot left. They've rebuilt, they've made these different colonies. Hers, the Five Lakes colony, is the smallest of them from what I gather, and generally kind of looked down upon within their society. Every year as children graduate from school to be adults, if they are deemed worthy, they will be tapped to go to the testing. And the testing is a series of trials, and if you make it through these trials, you get the opportunity to go to university to work on something to the betterment of society. Her father went to university, he made it through the testing, and this has been her dream to get to go. So of course she she gets to go. But before she leaves home, her father kind of lets her in on what he remembers about the testing or what he doesn't remember about the testing. And it sets her a bit in the route of being very suspicious of what's going to happen, very suspicious of the other kids who are there. It turns out 4 kids from her colony are all getting to go. She partners up with one of the boys to kind of stick with him, one of the other people who was top of her class. And between him and the other 2, they have 4 of them who are going into this testing together. She quickly learns this is very cutthroat, it's very brutal, and it's going to be a fight for survival to get through it all. I'm having a decent time with this one. I would say it's a super easy read. I read the first 25% physically while I was watching some sprints that Brie was doing, and then I switched to audiobook while I was doing a couple things that didn't require too much brain power, but I needed to be able to listen to something while I was doing that. And it's reading like a pretty typical YA story of this dystopian future type of thing. It is pretty brutal. There have been some scenes that made me cringe, and I like that. I like that it's going there. I like that the stakes are definitely high for our characters. So we'll see how it goes. I'm feeling like there's some similarities here to Hunger Games with the different districts. Instead here there's different colonies and they have different specialties, and that may or may not come into play in the trials. But we've made it past a couple trials now. We are continuing on, and I'm eager to see where this goes. This starts, I think, a trilogy if I'm not mistaken. So they are pretty quick, easy books. So if I do wind up liking this one, it's possible I could pick up more this month as well. I'd love to actually continue or finish a series this month if I could, with me starting a couple, but we shall see. I'm going to keep reading tonight. Hopefully I'll have an update for you in the morning maybe that I finish this, or if not, I will definitely try to finish it up on my way to work in the morning. And hopefully I can get this in because it will give me the bonus points for a trials story, and it is a political story. The government is involved in all of this, so I definitely think that counts as well. So this would be a 350 point book if I can get it in time. So that's the current hope, and we shall see how it goes. I'll let you know what I find out tomorrow. It's Monday morning, which is unfortunate. The whole workday has to start, but I took Friday off for Face Off weekend, so I'm excited for that coming up. In the meantime, we haven't had any new news, but I did finish my book. So I wrapped up the testing last night. This is such a shiny cover. It's nice and floppy and just a lovely paperback, but hopefully I don't flash it and blind you in the process. I wound up really enjoying this. I think it did a lot of good things of playing with what the characters knew, what they didn't know going into this. The setup for book 2 is very intriguing. I definitely want to be able to continue on with it. I don't know that it'll suit the trials and competitions thing, although it might, because the people going into the next round certainly are going to be very competitive still, so we'll see about that. But I like the way this kind of ended in a way that reset some things, but also gave the main character some insights as to what might be coming, and I'm so curious to see what direction the author winds up taking this one. So I definitely need to get my hands on books 2 and 3. This was such a quick, easy read that I think I'm definitely hoping to be able to just kind of binge read it. If not this month, then maybe it'll be a good one to take on vacation with me next month. So that's where I'm up to with this. This morning, I'm switching focus to an arc that comes out tomorrow. So I definitely want to pay some attention to that one, which I won't focus on here. But it is Jill Is Not Happy by Kara Ruda. This is a copy I was gifted by Penciler Publishers, and it is about a couple who don't really like each other so much, but they share some sort of horrible secret from their past that's kept them together. The husband doesn't want to keep things going, the wife does, and they're on a road trip to Utah. That's really what I know at this stage, but it will work for a title that doesn't have a, an, or the in it from a previous round, so I'm not in a particular rush to finish this before the next leg drops, because it's already going for a prompt from a previous round, so I'm not dealing with any bonus points or double point. So this is my next kind of focus today, and hopefully we get a new leg drop and I can kind of pivot into whatever the next book is that I need to read. But with that, I'm going to go ahead and finish getting for work and head off, and I will check back in with you probably tonight. I'm assuming we're going to get maybe some updates today, but we shall see. I'm back Monday evening with quite a few updates for you. While I was driving to work, I glanced at my phone at a red light and saw a bunch of alerts pop up. And it was a new leg drop from Brie. We are now off to the Shire to hang out with the hobbits, eat 6 meals a day, and just have some cozy, good fun. Because the book for this leg of the journey is to read a cozy book. And this is one that I had not planned in advance what I was going to read. Cozy is not necessarily a buzzword for me. I do find cozy books that I enjoy, but I kind of decided I was going to go with a short read for this and focus on sightseeing because there's some good sightseeing prompts and we'll get to that in a minute. But as it turns out, I did get approved for an audio arc from PRH Audio that works perfectly for this. So I'm going to go ahead and review that one in this vlog as opposed to holding off on it for my arc attack because it comes out next week. So a couple days after this vlog will be live. So the timing seems perfect to just go ahead and include it here since I'm using it for one of my journey prompts for Amazing Readathon. And the book in question is This Princess Kills Monsters by Rye Herman. This isn't one that I knew much about, but I saw the cover and it looked intriguing. The title caught my attention and I learned that it is by a queer author. There's queer rep in the book, so it seemed like it would be a perfect read for the readathon and it had me intrigued. We are following a princess named Meliot, and her stepmother keeps sending her on impossible and dangerous quests. There's constantly people out to kill her, and it's just kind of the way her life has always been. She has a little bit of magic, but it always seems kind of useless, and her stepsisters have much more useful magical powers, usually wind up rescuing her, and she's just kind of resigned to the way her life is going. Then her stepmother tasks her with going and marrying a king, and this is not what she wants to do, but she goes ahead and accepts the mission. And en route, she's attacked by Spider Dog and is rescued by 12 masked huntsmen who belong to the king. She winds up meeting a talking lion who is the king's advisor. And there's a lot of just strange and fun shenanigans going on. This is a very fairy tale inspired book, as you would probably guess, but it wraps a lot of different things in, and it pokes fun at fairy tales, it pokes fun at storytelling. In the part where I just left off, they were using a lot of really creative takes on the word smite, and whether a queen might smite someone. Will there be a smitening? Will they be smited? I don't know. Different words, and just having fun with the narrative. We've got different relationships going on in here. Obviously, there's meant to be this arranged marriage between our princess and the king, but the king's in love with someone. She's meeting other people she's interested in, and there's a lot of interesting twists and turns to the journey, to the magic going on in here, etc. I'm just past the halfway point in this one, and I'm having a good time. It's not my typical read, but it's had me chuckling out loud in a few places, and I really appreciate the author's creative take on different familiar tropes and stories and things like that. Okay, I've gathered my sightseeing information for you. So when I last spoke to you, I was planning to read Jill Is Not Happy for a past sightseeing prompt just because it's an arc I needed to get to. It'll have a full review in my next arc attack, but with the new prompts that dropped, one of them is for a book that has either a prologue or an epilogue, and this one does very distinctly have a opening passage, which is a hit and run, and then you get to part one of the book. So I think this definitely counts as a prologue, and I will be able to therefore cash this in for 400 points, assuming I finish my cozy read and get this one finished and submitted before the next leg drops. And then the 250 point prompt for this particular leg of the journey is to be able to spell your name, and it can be either first or last, just be consistent basically. And you can spell it using the title of the book and the author's name. Well, Deb is short, which helps because I only have to find 3 letters, but D and B aren't the most common of letters I've found as I'm looking through my TBR, but I have found several books that will work, so that's going to be my main priority until the next leg drops once I finish my cozy read. And the first one I definitely wanted to get to is Bloom. This is by Delilah S. Dawson. And I picked this one up because it is a host 5-star read. Bree gave this one 5 stars. I know Lexi gave it 4.5 stars. And it's nice and short. I figured if nothing else, I'd be able to work on it for face-off weekend. But since it's got a D, an E, and a B on the cover in between the words I'm allowed to use, it will get my team 500 points. And I'm excited to get to this one. It should be a quick read. I do have the audiobook out as well. And I do have one more by this author that I can still save for face-off weekend. And then 2 more that I could get to, which would really help myself out in a lot of ways, is the sequel and book 3 in the testing trilogy. The testing wouldn't have worked because there is no D, but Book 2 is Independent Study, which has a D in it. And book 3 is Graduation Day, I think. And that has a D in it. And then the author's name has an E and a B. Quite a few actually to choose from. So with that, it would also help me finish one of the series that I started this month. So that would be a huge bonus for me. And I know from the first book, it was a very quick, easy read. I believe books 2 and 3 are actually slightly shorter than this one, or at least not much longer. So that gives me several options over the next couple of days to hopefully get some good points for my team. So things are looking good at the moment. I'm excited for my reading plans, and we'll see how it goes. Happy Tuesday. I did manage this morning, just a few minutes ago as I was getting ready for work, to finish this Princess Kills Monsters. And honestly, I don't have a ton more thoughts to give you at this point. I liked the way it wrapped up. I liked the way it ended. I really appreciated the storytelling, fairy tale aspect of this, both just the way the author used different fairy tales in the telling of the story, but also the way they had their characters telling stories within the story to each other to help explain themselves, to give history, and the really cozy nature of it was wrapped in that storytelling aspect, and I did like that. The humor was still there, the kind of twists on the familiar were still there, and I really enjoyed all of that. I liked that the ending wasn't your typical fairy tale, happily ever after, marriage and then disappear into the castle type of an ending, and all of this together gives this one a very strong 4-star for me, so I'm really glad for that. This was a 416-page book, and it gets the bonus for having LGBTQ characters. So this one winds up giving my team 466 points. And now I can move on to some sightseeing. Really quickly, because like I said, it's going to be in my archetype, but I did also finish up Jill Is Not Happy last night. And this was a fun time, mixed feelings. I go into more detail in my vlog that will be coming. But this does work as a book within prologue and gets the team 400 points for that. And then I decided to start a short one first before I figure out what next book I want to pick up is. And that is Bloom by Delilah S. Dawson. This one's getting me the D, E, and B on the cover for 250 points. And this one is so short, but I am almost halfway through it. I don't want to say too much because I feel like it's such a short book. But we have a woman who quickly becomes obsessed by someone she meets at the farmer's market who is selling plants and cupcakes, and really plants and cupcakes. How can you not become obsessed? But this is her first time kind of having these feelings for a woman. The woman encourages her feelings and they seem to be starting a relationship, but there are some weird things about this woman. So I'm going to keep reading this one and finish this one up probably on my way to work. It's so short. And then I'm not sure what's next. So we shall see, and I will let you know once I come back with some updates. I'm back Tuesday evening, and no really big new news on the readathon front, but I do have some sightseeing updates for you. But first, I did want to mention when I got home tonight, there was a package at my door from Random House, and I received a gifted copy of The Princess Kills Monsters, the one I just finished this morning. And this is from Dial Press, and it is the most lovely floppy paperback. I really appreciate that. But anyway, thank you to Dial Press. Again, I had a good time with this one, so I'm happy to have a physical copy of it. And then I did finish up Bloom mostly on my way to work. I finished the last little bit of it after I got to work. And this one gets weird. It gets disturbing. Some things I predicted definitely happened, but it also went a little bit further than I expected to. So I like that very much. I was thinking this was kind of sitting around a 3.5 to 4 for me, and it didn't quite get to 5, but the way this ended and the way it ramped up toward the end, it definitely got to a 4.5 in my mind. Still rounded to a 4, but a very good reading experience, and it has me extra excited to hopefully get to more from this author when it comes to my weekend reading. So this definitely worked for LGBTQ, and it was name on the cover, so this wound up being 550 points for my team. And then from there, I needed something that I could kind of multitask with and listen to, so I wound up picking up Independent Study and Graduation Day by Joelle Charbonneau, the book 2 and 3 following the testing. And these are really easy listens, and there are competitive aspects still going on in the further books in this series, and I really enjoyed the journey. There were a few things that I felt like were questions in book 1 that maybe got glossed over a little bit in the subsequent books, or maybe I just missed something, but there were a few things I wanted to be a bit of a bigger deal, but I did really enjoy kind of the storyline of our characters kind of having to flip things on its head compared to book 1, being very vague because obviously I don't want to spoil book 1 by talking too much about books 2 and 3. But there's also definitely some really good discussions in here about government and the people's responsibility for making sure government's not overstepping, and that's certainly very relevant in our world today. So I appreciated all of that, and I originally picked this up as a political read, and it very much was that, but each of these books do get me my team bonus, so the combination of reading both of them is another 1,100 points for Team Galeweavers. So without any word of a new prompt dropping, it's been a little over 24 hours, I guess, since the last one dropped, if I'm remembering correctly. So I decided I should pick up another sightseeing book, and I haven't started yet, but just to give a heads up, I am going to pick up Spin the Dawn by Elizabeth Lim. This is another one I can spell my name in because there's D and then E and B and Elizabeth. This is one that I have on my official TBR for the month, so even though it's not as quick of a read, it's more like a 14-hour audiobook instead of a 9-hour audiobook, but it's one I have to get to this month if I want to succeed at my prompt ball TBR. And it's also on my Our Fantasy Bingo TBR because this one involves the making of garments and cloth and that type of stuff. This one says, A Girl in Disguise, 3 Legendary Dresses, the Competition of a Lifetime. So it definitely is going to get me my team bonus for this as well. From what I understand in this book, we are following a young woman who wants to become a fabulous dressmaker. Her father has been in the past and is invited to compete at the royal court, but he's too ill to travel, so she decides to dress up like a boy and go off to compete. And women are not allowed to participate, so she's taking her life in her hands, from what I understand. But I am very eager to pick this one up. I've heard good things, and I'm hopeful that I will enjoy this one. And if I can manage to get it done in time, it would be a good 550 points. With that, I'm going to go ahead, probably read a little bit more tonight. Honestly, I'm just kind of tired, so I may get to bed hopefully a little bit early, but I'll continue on with this. If I don't get a chance to give you midway thoughts, I'm just going to keep reading this one because I feel like time crunch is definitely hitting. I may or may not get this done in time. I have no idea when the next leg is dropping, so wish me luck, and I will check in with you later. I decided to pop in with just a really quick update because I'm about 30% of the way into Spin the Dawn, and I am having a good time with this one. The synopsis I pretty much already covered, and it is pretty much what I said. We do have a magical element at play here. Our main character doesn't really believe in magic. It's not something she was raised with, but it's starting to come into play, and she's starting to realize it is real and it's impacting her work. The court's enchanter, Eden, seems to be the one person who maybe can see a little bit through her disguise or is paying a lot more attention to her than she really thinks is a good idea. She's got the setup in the middle. She's got a lot of tension on her, and the pressure is high in this competition. I am really liking kind of the commentary on the women's role in this society. We've also got the Empress that she's being trialed to prepare clothing for, and she's a strong personality as well. And I'm liking the way that our character Maya is standing up to her while being respectful and also just doing her best to know she's good enough and to try to do things on her own, but also it's a cutthroat competition. So I'm eager to keep going in this one. I just had the opportunity for some bonus points or potential bonus points with my team to post about my current read and my current food. So I have a bacon pastry that I posted about and my coffee to take with me to work and continue reading this one. So that is the goal for today. I have some really, really boring numbers and forms stuff to do today. So I think I'll be able to get in some audiobook time between meetings. So that's the goal. We'll go from there, and I will check in with you hopefully tonight with an update. I am certainly hoping I can maybe finish this before the next leg drops, but who knows when that will be. It is Wednesday evening and we still don't have any new leg drops from Bree. So generally speaking, people seem in the Discord to think we're going to get a drop tomorrow. I don't know if that is true or not, but we shall see. But in the meantime, I did make some progress on my sightseeing reading today. First off, I finished up Spin the Dawn. I really like the setting with this, with the different Asian inspired kind of quests and dressmaking that had to happen as part of this. We get the competition element. There's also some questing that goes on. We've got a romance happening in here. It goes a little bit fast for me personally, but there are very distinct reasons why there are still hurdles to overcome in this relationship as things go. So I am really intrigued to see where the story takes us in the second book. It is a duology, so if I can get this book fairly quickly from the library, I would like to get to it sooner rather than later, just to continue to finish off series and so forth. This one was 14 hours of audio, which it really should not have been. This is only less than 400 pages, and they are rather widely spaced lines and not small text. It just was a very slow audio. I had it cranked up to 3 times speed, and if my Libby app would have let me go further, I could have listened to it faster because it just was recorded a little slow, I think. But that's okay. It made it easy to get some work done since I had a little bit left after I got to the office today. I was listening in on some reading sprints during the day as well, and that'll help me get through this one. So since this had a competition and since this has DEMB on the cover, we get 550 points for Galeweavers. And then continuing on with the goal for the week being competition books and points, I have started The Grandest Game by Jennifer Lynn Barnes. And this is the first book in a new series. I don't know if it's a new trilogy. For some reason, I think it is, but I could be making that up. But this is a spin-off of the Inheritance Games series, which I really, really enjoyed. That's one that I didn't know too much going into it, but I wound up binging the whole first book, The Inheritance Games, when I read it, and then finished it, I think, within like 24 hours. And I physically read it, which I don't usually binge a full-size novel in a day when I'm entirely reading it with my eyes. And I've enjoyed each book ever since in the series. So when there was a spin-off, of course I had to pick it up. This one is set a little bit after the tales of the original set of books. Avery and the Hawthorne brothers hold this grand game, and it's to give away some of the boatloads of money that they have. And in this year's competition, there are going to be 7 competitors. There were a certain number that Avery gave out invitations, and then there were a few that were hidden around the world for people to find to get entry into this game. We seem to be following 3 of the contestants. One is the half-sister of one of the Hawthorns. One is a guy that I don't really have a read on, but he seems to be a little bit questionable morally. The synopsis says that as well. And he is very ambitious about winning this game and getting the money for himself. And then the third one is the one I think right now I'm the most invested in, and that is Lyra. And Lyra's biological father committed suicide, and in the process of doing so, she was present and she heard him tell her that the Hawthorns were responsible. And she had reached out to Grayson Hawthorne multiple times a while back to find out more, and he shut her down. But now she's one of the entrants into this year's competition. So really, she's less there for the money than to get answers. And I am the most intrigued by her. She also has a very interesting brain. We meet her and she's taking a test, and in 10 minutes able to successfully take this entire multiple choice test using logic and different means. And she just has me really intrigued to keep going. Gigi, who is the half-sister, she's high energy and entertaining. And Rowan, who is our mysterious man, is interesting. So I am very intrigued to see where this is going. I'm about a third of the way in, so it's been a lot of setup till now. But it's a very easy read. I got through the first third really quickly, so I'm hopeful that I can make a really good dent in it tonight and have this submitted in time to get it in for this leg, because again, this has D, E, and B on the cover, and it's another competition book. So it would be another 550 points if I get it in on time. So that's the hope. Tomorrow is Thursday, which means tomorrow is my Friday of the week, because the actual calendar Friday is Face Off kicking off at 9 a.m. my time. So I have the day off work. I'm getting my oil change in the morning and then spending the day Friday reading. And I'm so looking forward to that. So I'm kind of thinking this will probably be the last book of this particular vlog, because I am going to be doing a dedicated vlog for Face Off weekend. We have a board game. We're going to be rolling and finding prompts, and it's going to be a lot of fun, and I'm going to go ahead and do a weekend vlog for that. So I will check back in with you once I finish this one. We'll see if I have news of a new drop by then or not. I don't know, but I'm thinking this is probably the last sightseeing book I'm going to get to with any confidence in being able to possibly finish it in time to get it submitted during this leg. So this is probably a good place to wrap it up. So I will be back with final thoughts and to wrap up this week's vlog. So I will be checking in with you soon. Happy Thursday evening. Happy weekend to me, because like I said, I'm off tomorrow and I am indeed back to finish up this vlog. I finished reading the Garandis game and eventually I did enjoy this one. It took me a little bit longer than I expected to get into this, I think because we're learning new characters, the different POVs, and trying to figure out exactly how these characters do tie in with past stories in some cases, and whether some of them did, some of them didn't. I think I got a little bit distracted looking for the bigger picture of things. I missed some of the minutia at the beginning, but I really enjoyed the puzzles in here. They were fun to follow along, try to come up with ideas of what the characters might need to do to get out of certain situations, and seeing the way different strengths the different characters had played in, and the twists and turns to the journey definitely have me eager to be picking up book 2. I want to say book 2 is coming out fairly soon. I don't remember exactly when, but I will be looking into that as soon as I can and continuing on with these characters. And this wound up being a 4-star for me, and I was able to get this in just under the wire this morning to get 550 points for the competitive aspect and DEV on the cover. So this was another success, and ultimately I think this was my best sightseeing turnaround because the Deb on the cover really wound up working with competition books for me, and the push this week to read competition books really worked in my favor, both in terms of enjoying books and just in terms of getting points for my team. Let me know in the comments below, have you read any of these books? If you're participating in the readathon, how have things been going for you? What did you read for either the Panem or the Hobbit Shire legs of the journey? Let me know all the things, and if you've made it this far and you don't have anything to comment, give me some sort of card emoji. This has the club shape on it, but I do know we've got diamonds or hearts or spades or whatever we have in emoji land that will work. Go ahead and give me one of those. If you could hit that like button below also, I would surely appreciate it, and subscribe if you're interested in more of my Amazing Readathon content, more of my book reviews, and more of my bookish content in general. But for now, I will go ahead and leave you here and see you real soon in a new video.